Hi, good morning everyone. This is Sonia Sudilo once again reporting live from Nairobi, Kenya, and today is the last day of INC3, and joining me is Hirotaka Koike from Greenpeace, Japan. Hi Hiro, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Sander. So Hiro, from your point of view, what strategies or measures can be implemented to tackle the plastics crisis effectively?
Thanks for the question. So, I think we need to start where we can make actually the biggest impacts. And the solution is very clear and the science is very clear that we need to turn off the tap. The production of the primary plastic polymers, plastic production itself need to come down. The current projection going way beyond our current capacity, and the current capacity is already too little to handle the amount we produce. So from where I see it, in order to tackle the plastic pollution effectively, we really need to address the plastic production as source and reduce reduction, so that we can massively reduce the amount of the plastics that are going into the market, going into the dumping site, etc., etc. So we really need to tackle the source to start with.
Okay, so turning off the tap.
Yeah.
How does Japan handle plastic waste, and why is there a concern about its approach?
So, Japan is very famous for collecting the, plastic waste very in a very high rate of the collection so far. But first of all, the collection rate that itself doesn't mean anything if you don't treat them properly. The way we deal with it is actually not sustainable. If you look at the figures, the more than half, about 60 to 70%, have been basically just burned. They call it thermal recycling or waste to energy. So it's sounding like you're effectively using a plastics, but in reality it's just basically burning them all, which is also limiting our capacity to actually move away, because certain incineration facilities need a plastic to burn efficiently. So we are in a perpetual situation. But also the remaining, some part says recycling, but what happened is about some portion, 10 to 20%, being exported to the other countries, but the quality of that has been unknown. Japan is top among the OECD countries exporting plastic waste to non-OECD countries. Why exporting the recyclable material to the non-OECD country if you can actually recycle it at home? So it doesn't really make sense. So what we are trying to also explore is, what kind of items you're sending? Is it actually recyclable, clean, or is it just a waste dumping? So what we are seeing is this is not sustainable. Even though we collect them, we just basically burn them, export them. So I don't think that's the solution, and I think we need to change that.
Okay. So how can governments, including Japan, ensure fair discussions on the global plastics treaty?
First off, I think we need to look at the violation of the rights, the direct ones. That we see this, for example, where the production sites, chemical facilities, etc., being contaminating land and water, in some cases infringing the rights of indigenous people too. So, those are the immediate violations that you can point out. And then we see also at the end of the lifespan, the plastic being sort of dumped to the dumping site or being burnt. We see the waste pickers are the one, getting a lot of involvement in creating the recycling content, etc. But also there are a lot of issues with the rights, and also securing rights to housing, rights to the healthcare, etc., etc. So clearly we need to ensure that the human rights being protected and being enshrined at all stages of the life cycle. So that's, I would say, the direct one. But indirectly, we are creating the hotspots of the plastics and microplastics contaminations in the area that Pacific countries are relying upon. Some areas are protected by the indigenous people, etc., etc. So you can see that this is a very transboundary impacts onto the, especially the countries which are more vulnerable to the climate change impacts, to the contamination coming from the other side parts of the world through the oceans. So yeah, we really need to ensure that these voices are heard and prioritized in the process, because essentially we want to ensure that no one is left behind, and if the discussion does not take into account the voices of those, then this would essentially fail. So I think the treaty conversation needs to really provide an adequate, safe, and meaningful space of engagement for those people as well as for the countries, so that they will not feel like basically bullied by the North or other big countries in the process.
So do you feel positive that we're getting there, at least for this INC3?
I think we see the strong participation and the voices coming from the Pacific countries, island nations, and also indigenous folks. So the waste speaker has been extremely powerful and convincing a lot of audience here, and you see that a lot of member states are very keen to support the just transition, which is a very good sign. So yes, I think they are positive, but doesn't mean that these positive feedback and sentiment will translate into the treaty itself. So that's another fight that we really need all of you, all of the people to support the cause in order to get the document really inclusive and providing not just like sort of fluffy language that we leave no one behind kind of thing, but really ensure the rights and the just transition for.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So I'll come back here. So thank you so much, everyone. Keep tuning in. Again, we want a treaty that ensures that no one is left behind. Again, this is Sonia for Zero Waste Asia Newsbreak.